Now, I know I've said this many times before, but I'll say it again. The Acolyte serves as something that really made Disney Star Wars history. It is the absolute first Star Wars project that has been ratioed across all forms of social media. Nothing that we have ever seen before under Disney's wing, and that is very revealing about the current status of Star Wars, how vivid and how obvious the overall agenda is within the Acolyte series by Leslye Headland, by Kathleen Kennedy, Bob Iger, the board of directors of Disney, you name it, and everything else going on over at Lucasfilm. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So one thing about the Acolyte series that I think really is becoming a bigger problem is the fact that we have a lot of those like Amanda Stenberg, Leslye Headland, Kathleen Kennedy attacking the Star Wars fans that really are invested in George Lucas's philosophy, his vision of what the franchise stands for, and how basically they are being ridiculed for being opposed to all of the ongoing agendas from those like Leslye, Kathleen, and Amanda. Now, focusing on everything related to the Acolyte, there's been a lot of drama happening over at Lucasfilm. We talked about this initially of how Leslye was indeed fired and removed from various Star Wars projects. Given that the Acolyte backlash has been so large, it was astronomical across the board over at Disney. However, focusing here on Headland and exactly how she's been taking the overall criticism amid, of course, everything happening over at Lucasfilm, this is where things begin to go out of control. Now, with Lucasfilm already beginning to go throughout, of course, many budgeting cutbacks from Bob Iger's cost-cutting measures, one major development now has much to do with the director and showrunner of the Acolyte series, who recently went on a rampage behind the scenes at both Lucasfilm and Disney after getting fired from multiple Star Wars projects. Now, Headland went on to deliver the following. As a woman who represents the LGBTQ community and how important it is for me to represent that in Star Wars, there are always going to be moments in this industry where you face studio interference with your projects. I will admit that it has been frustrating to register the facts that some projects that you were working on, you are no longer a part of as a writer, director, or whatever. And it's just such a frustrating business. I think the greatest challenge in this industry is that studios at one point seem to be on your side, and then out of nowhere, when they begin to hear the loud and opinionated minority of so-called fans, they begin to cave into their demands. I will also admit that I have had my differences with Disney after parts of my vision fell into creative differences with those high up the ladder. Sometimes studios just don't want to work with you anymore on the many bold decisions that you feel need to be made with major franchises as big as this one. But I can't and don't really want to go into specifics about that just yet. The bigger issue at large that I think we are dealing with are fans that I think are just posing as fans, remaining opposed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and with the Acolyte it gets very tiring and frustrating hearing many claiming that this is all agenda-driven. Our support for DEI is nothing more than our way of truly creating new Star Wars fans that don't necessarily need to be attached too much to that burden that George's, of course, vision is all about. I really feel the future of this brand is about representing different ethnicities and communities around the world. This way we can make Star Wars even more recognizable to a wider global audience. It also allows us, as creators, to make this franchise more relatable to those that may have felt left out with George's films and the recent shows that Disney produced. The lack of representation, I think, has been a big problem with the many Star Wars movies throughout the decades. We need more people of color and those that engage in different types of relationships in a galaxy far, far away. That is the absolute best way to evolve a brand as big as this, and I couldn't thank Kathleen Kennedy enough for providing me this experience where we got to hire a whole cast and crew that come from different backgrounds and communities. It was truly inspiring to work with Amanda Stenberg, who really taught me so much about the non-binary community and how the Acolyte will gravitate toward that group. Now guys, let me just stop here before I move on about what Leslye is spewing about the Acolyte. Now, This is obviously her getting very defensive after she got removed from the James Mangold Star Wars movie that is currently codenamed Jedi Prime, by the way, which takes place roughly 25,000 years before The Phantom Menace. I know that's kind of ridiculous, but when you look at things like this, related to the Acolyte series and how much of a disaster it has been, both outside and in. Alright, we're talking about the marketing campaign as far as what the public has seen and everything happening over behind the scenes at Lucasfilm. Alright, there's been a lot of drama happening between the storyboard, the story group, I should say, over at Lucasfilm, and everything between Leslye, Kathleen, everything with Bob Iger and the board, and how they are pretty much in a phase of panic right now, based on everything that has been going on with how Disney already accidentally spoiled the Acolyte's biggest twist of all time. We talked about this, about how it's basically going to be about the good and evil twin. Very lazy storytelling, very lazy writing as far as I'm concerned. But there you have it again. I mean, Leslye going on and on about the agenda, but it's not an agenda trope, right? She always goes on about this, that she claims that the fans are posing as fans, and that they are nothing more than just posers. I mean, it just is absolutely ridiculous at this point. And you know what? At the same exact time, yeah, I mean, there are very few fans left when it comes to the current status of Star Wars. I mean, almost anyone that you talk to, they don't really have this full excitement anymore about Star Wars in general. They're not really truly, hyped up, I would say, about what's coming out for 2024, 2026, and moving onwards. But anyway, in conclusion, she goes on to end things by stating, "That's my mission, and I just wish I could have had more opportunities like this. Quite frankly, I think all the naysayers are going to feel lost when they realize how wrong they were about the Acolyte and just how much of a classic Star Wars story it truly will be by representing these communities and changing so many twists and turns that have never been done before." So again, I mean, she's also going on about how the Acolyte is going to be so driven by twists and turns, these bold decisions, subverting your expectations. This is all basically going to be The Last Jedi 2.0, and the reason why I say that is that she is one that looked up to Rian Johnson. She is one that was truly inspired by Rian Johnson. She was very much vocal about this, guys. I don't know if you knew this, but she said this multiple times, that she looked up to Rian Johnson's ways of making those bold choices in The Last Jedi and saw that as great filmmaking. I don't know how Lucasfilm hires these people, especially one in this case that is considered the former personal assistant of Harvey Weinstein. It just makes you shake your head to no degree, but when you look at this at the end of the day, the Acolyte is going to be, I think, stamped down right on the same status of The Last Jedi as far as marketing goes, as far as the overall fan response goes, as well as how large the backlash is going to be. But overall, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this ongoing scenario happening over at Lucasfilm below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.